History was made here as the 6th Tokyo International Conference on African Development took place for the first time in 23 years in Africa since its inception. Now, Kenya played host to this all-important event with the theme Advancing Africa's Development Agenda with TICAD Partnership and Prosperity. I'm Onyi Sunday. Welcome to the CNBC Special highlight on the 6th Tokyo International Conference on African Development. It was a gathering of heads of states, governments, and delegations from Japan, 54 African countries, 52 partner countries, 74 international and regional organizations, and representatives of the private sector and civil society organizations from Japan and Africa. The focus: advancing Africa's sustainable development agenda.
The TICAD meetings that are going to be held here this weekend, we look to a candid exchange of insights about the present situation on the continent and a shared sense of fervor for the future of Africa.
Around 3,000 participants from Japanese private sector are here for TICAD 6. I am confident that the interest in Africa business will once again grow and the momentum behind investment will swell.
Africa is still growing. If you look at the history of Africa from 2008 to 2013, during the height of the financial crisis, it was growing at over 5%. It was actually part of the world that was boosting global growth when so many other places were faltering. But we know that there are still major hurdles.
But for African economies to grow further, we must boost the performance of their private sectors. Aid is not enough. What Africa needs is investment.
The 2016 theme is built on outstanding issues from the TICAD 5 Yokohama Declaration and Action Plan, and also addresses the promotion of structural economic transformation through economic diversification, industrialization, promoting a resilient health system for quality life, and social stability. According to delegates here, at the center of it all is the private sector as the catalyst to stir up Africa's growth.
In Africa, the private sector contributes 90% of employment, that's jobs, 70% of the GDP, and 70% of investments. That's how crucial it is for the private sector to be part and parcel of this transformation of the continent.
Africa needs an estimated $90 billion annually through 2020, more than double current investment, and far beyond what governments can finance through public procurement for infrastructure, just for infrastructure alone. And today, the private sector is playing a more limited role in closing infrastructure gaps in Africa than in any other region. So what's holding the private sector back? The major problem we hear is risk. Whether it's real or just a perception, the private sector is telling us that there's too much risk in the equation. And it means that investors have shied away from the kind of long-term investment required to build solid, quality infrastructure. We have to change both the perception and the reality.
One of the things that today makes an investor either be in Europe or in Japan or in the US and feel comfortable with returns as low as 2%, 3%, and yet you still are able to get returns as high as 20, 25% on the continent of Africa, has a lot to do with perception of risk of what Africa actually faces.
A high-level side event discussion on TICAD support for democratic governance in Africa was also organized to address concrete ways by which TICAD can further enhance support for democratic governance in Africa, amongst other issues.
I think the opportunities, first of all, is that we are, as Africa, we have great potentials. In fact, if anything, it's our problem is untapped potentials, unfulfilled potentials. So the potentials are there. Now, what are the challenges, the resources to actually actualize our potentials so that we stop being potential this, potential that, we become actual this and actual that.
And one thing which are very lucky and which is very necessary in this regard is still leadership. The strong leadership, determination, and wise insight that we had in the panel. And then actually, President Obasanjo's speech started with the importance of leadership and trusted by the people. And then with the existence of excellent leaders, and then with the spirit of assistance from Asia, like Japan, then we can make it.
We are in a period of global slowdown, and natural resource prices have come down, and part of what Africa has to do is the comprehensive development strategy that will be partly based on industrialization, and really a unique moment in time when wages are rising in China. A lot of industrial jobs will be leaving China and up for grabs. And if Africa has prepared itself, has the infrastructure, has the right policy framework, then many of those jobs will be moving to Africa.
A major highlight was the announcement by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe that for a period of 3 years, from 2016 to 2018, Japan will invest in Africa's future by developing quality infrastructure, promoting resilient health systems, and laying the foundation for peace and stability. The program will attract approximately $30 billion under a public-private partnership arrangement.
Ladies and gentlemen, TICAD is a responsible forum. It is vital, therefore, to steadfastly put into action the implementation plan. The plan shall be our guidance as both the public and private sectors in Japan will vigorously proceed forward in our cooperation with Africa. As for the total of $30 billion of commitment from public and private sectors combined, which I have already announced, will be definitely mobilized and disbursed in close cooperation with broad-based stakeholders.
You know, the public-private partnership arena is gaining a lot of traction in many countries in Africa. But we are still far away from actually seeing the benefits of public-private partnership in health. Many public sector in many parts of Africa still don't view private sector as a partner. They see them as competition. We need to drop down the Chinese wall, and what Japan can do is to try and create this link between the public and private, and through funding and initiatives that we've seen in TICAD, we should open up the business and relationships in healthcare for private sector as well. When it comes to supply, providing medicines, equipment, when it comes to providing insurance and medical plans for universal coverage, I think what we can do is to use what Japan's been through and harness the power of two, bringing both public and private together for better healthcare.
The biggest conversation has been on transformation of infrastructure in Africa. I think that is really number one. And the second one is the commitment of $1 trillion Kenya shillings equivalent for the first 1 year, with a possibility of $3 trillion within 3 years. But the confidence and trust in this conference is the participation of the private sector. We talk a lot, but if we don't have a mechanism of transforming the talk into execution, there is always a break. But this time Japan committed to use existing institutions and also to play using its private sector. And we saw 22 agreements being signed by the private sector corporations of Japan on immediate investment. So that is what gives us huge confidence.
Initiatives to encourage private sector companies to establish businesses in Africa were also discussed. Japan's Prime Minister also announced the government of Japan will promote negotiations on investments and tax agreements and set up the Japan-Africa Public-Private Economic Forum to support private sector companies in establishing businesses in Africa.
TCAD moving from Tokyo to Nairobi is brilliant because that way we have more participation from Africans and more ideas being shared amongst Africans for us to actualize our development agenda.
The real question now is making sure that the skill set is the kind of skill set that will be required for modern manufacturing and modern jobs, not only in manufacturing, but in the service sector.
Africans, it is a mistake to underestimate Africa and the resilience and the determination of the people. And I think this event will result in substantial progress on various fronts. Most notably, I think, health.
TCAD will hold every 3 years, alternating between Africa and Japan. TCAD 7 will take place in Japan in 2019. The rest of the 6th Tokyo International Conference on African Development continues after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the 6th Tokyo International Conference on African Development. A solution-based summit. Words quickly lead to action, with MOUs signed between Japan and some African countries.
It has two broad objectives. One is to build capacity of the technical staff in the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development in order for them to carry out exploration of geothermal resources and be able to come to development of these geothermal resources. Number two, it has the objective of Toshiba developing the first geothermal plant in the country.
I understand the Uganda is now at the very beginning stage to develop geothermal. So we are very proud to support the development of geothermal in Uganda. Uganda is a so important country for Japan, not only for Toshiba, but for Japan as a whole. Uganda is very important to be a partner, and we, Toshiba, would like to be a partner to develop the geothermal. So I understand in Uganda that, as he told, the energy diversification is so important. So we believe Toshiba can contribute the development and diversify the energy resources in Uganda.
And in fact, one of the reasons we're here is the synergy between Japan and Africa, where we had a memorandum of understanding between GAFI and JETRO to open up cooperation insights between the two organizations to attract more investment into Egypt and ultimately benefiting Africa, being Egypt as the gateway for Africa in many dimensions. And we chose to sign this here in Africa, in Nairobi, as part of this major event that we are very happy to be part of.
With over 3,000 participants from Japan's private sector present, one of the country's biggest exhibition fairs was organized as a side event.
This is a model of micro hydropower generating equipment. So this type of generator is from like 1 kilowatt to 200 kilowatts. So like this type of generator equipment can be applied for like small rivers or canals. So in Africa, I guess like this kind of system can be applied to like small villages or towns, so that like they can generate it by themselves.
This module clinic is aimed for healthcare service, development of the healthcare service in rural areas. because we identify that there are various demands in the remote areas who doesn't have access to the primary medical services. So we want to meet such demand by providing this kind of solutions. In this module, this is general consultation and diagnosis facilities, and this is obstetric delivery of the babies. So this is just a sample, and we can provide a dental clinic and others, of course, whatever needed.
We're a stationery manufacturer from Japan. We do ballpoint pens, mechanical pencils, markers, anything to do with writing and drawing, we do, basically. We have a setting today where we would like for our visitors to draw on our wall or color in and actually make our company president look interesting. I think it's a great opportunity for us to showcase our products to the African people generally. We already sell in Kenya, but the other countries were a bit shy, so we would like to get some exposure here.
Most of the representatives from Japan's private sector shared their success story in Africa and future plans for the continent.
And there are in particular four sectors, four areas that Japanese businesses are interested in, such as development of natural resources, and secondly, infrastructure, including energy, water, and distribution. Thirdly, manufacturing industries, starting from food all the way to automobile. And the fourth sector is the services industry. And I believe that there will be a good growth and big expansion of operations of Japanese businesses in these areas.
We have been marketing a seasoning called Ajinomoto, which makes locally made ingredients delicious. You need only add a dash of Ajinomoto to a daily common dish to transform it into a delicious meal. Our sales have reached more than $100 million in Nigeria today, and our workforce comprises nearly 800 Nigerians. We sell our product mainly in small 10-gram sachet that equates to sales of about 2.4 billion small sachet annually. You can easily find how popular our product in Nigeria if you divide the number by the total population.
Just talk us through what you've really done in that space in terms of building capacity and creating the skill sets needed in that space.
As I told, first we try to develop some business model rather than to just market our products. But next step, we try to develop human resources to maintain that business model correctly with the operational skill and management skills. We try to develop that business model together with local people and local talents just in the market. So it's very important to give opportunity to develop HR in the market.
Right now there's a lot of conversation around infrastructure, whether it's port, rail, roads. Which other projects are you looking for, not only in Kenya but across the region, the African region?
Well, our company is participating in this conference, TICAD. It is to consider about, in fact, future project. That's why we are here.
Actually, we started the operation in South Africa, where we started decorative paint, is in house paint, and also actually all of the field, house paint, protective coating, which is for the infrastructure, industrial coating, cover the agricultural construction machines, automotive coating, and all refinish coatings. So all the fields we are doing.
At the moment, each country is putting a lot of effort into facilitating to make it into a great environment for Japanese businesses to do, and then we would like you to put more, efforts into that, so we can come and contribute. In terms of population, in Africa there are 1 billion people, and also in terms of the size of GDP is 2 trillion American dollars. That is almost the same size as India. The difference is, in India, there's only one market, whereas in Africa, well, potentially 54. I'm not saying 54 different markets, but there are many different currencies, and also the tax policies as well, like rules, and then also different economies. So it is so important, vital, to integrate these markets into one. And at the moment, there is this Eastern region economic union of 26 countries, which is very encouraging fact for us. So please keep on encouraging that kind of trend.
You started as a photography company, but in Africa you are paying a lot of attention to Medicare. Why is that?
So for a company, it's not only that we're doing business in photography. We have also started doing business in medical care, printing, as well as industry materials. And especially in that regard, medical care or healthcare is part of our core business. And as you can see, the mortality rate of breast cancer, especially breast cancer, is very high. And in that regard, we have created a mammography, a digital mammography, where now we'll be able to diagnose cancer easily. And we believe that it's not only about selling the product, but also training and educating the healthcare providers, such as the doctors and engineers, that is important. So we also focus on that. We have deals with more than 50 countries and all over Africa.
Group actually in Asia, Europe, and the America collaborate as a unified group to maximize their technologies and experience and deliver highly stable internet and voice telecommunication. The NTT Group can deliver these same value-added service in Africa. By leveraging our internal collaboration, we aim to quickly and flexibly provide African companies with integrated ICT solutions.
Of course, automotive business for us is a core business, but other than automotive business, we also going to expand our business domains. That's our policy and strategy. Now we are dealing with medical and pharmaceutical supplies as well through our child company. We now deal with those pharmaceutical and medical supplies in 22 countries in Africa.
The past 5 TICAD have been held in Japan, and I think it's very fascinating, and it's such a good idea to hold this for the first time on African soil. And at the same time, we believe that its importance is public-private collaboration about TICAD, and because it's very helpful for the development of Africa as together.
Talk us through your operations in Africa.
We conduct business in Africa based on a long-term perspective and cover a wide range of fields, including the development of natural gas, metal resources, constructions of railroad, ports, power generation facilities, and other infrastructure, LTE high-speed telecommunications business, food and agriculture, and ICT. Especially in Mozambique, we aim to be in the development of some of the world's biggest natural gas fields, as well as high-grade coal mine.
In Africa, we want to extend all these our new job. I mean, good work. So our the main main part of doing the job is to employ the local people and to contribute the local society. And so we train the local people, and we transfer the technology to the local contractors.
For both functions of our business, Africa is quite important from the viewpoint of the beef supply and also for the sales of our tobacco product. Of course, it is quite important for our sales business. Africa produces favorable quality
leaf tobacco with value, and those are produced in such countries like Zambia, Malawi, or Mozambique, and these countries are quite important for us, and of course, in a broader sense, African continent is quite important for our business.
TICAD 6, along with the Yokohama Action Plan, remain valid until the next TICAD in 2019. Through an open and inclusive forum, engagement of multi-stakeholders, alignment with Africa's own agenda, emphasis on human security and people-centered development, the Nairobi Declaration reaffirms the continent's role in achieving the objectives of TICAD. Like the Maasai who warm up before the big leap, many here believe it's up to Africa to determine if this will be a warm-up or a leap in achieving its development goals. The 6th Tokyo International Conference on African Development may have come to an end, but evidence of its importance remains, judging by the number of countries present at this summit. Now, how far resolutions made at this conference will go lies largely in the hands of governments present. And that's it on this CNBC Special highlight on the 6th Tokyo International Conference on African Development. I'm Onyi Sunday. Thanks for watching.